Religious liberty is under fire, and the evidence shows houses of worship are becoming prime targets.
It really is. It's a profound challenge, facing faith communities today. It confirms that security, well, it just can't be an afterthought anymore.
That's exactly right. So today we're doing a deep dive into a whole stack of intelligence reports, news analysis, findings from federal agencies, security experts too.
Yeah.
Our mission is pretty clear. We need to understand the severe threat level facing faith communities right now, and critically examine the most effective strategies for, well, self-protection and vigilance in this escalating environment.
And the information is urgent. It really demands immediate action, from congregations all across the country.
Okay, let's start with that reality check. Security experts, they've officially raised the threat level for houses of worship to severe. That's coded red. And that's based on consistent intelligence coming from the FBI and Homeland Security. It signals basically active plotting and credible threats.
Yeah, and the severe assessment, it's not just theoretical, right? It's validated by, well, escalating events. We've seen 2 highly publicized incidents just in Michigan recently.
Right.
On one hand, you had that horrific, deadly shooting and arson at a Mormon church. 4 lives lost, driven by targeted hatred.
Just awful. And then on the other hand, you had the attempted mass shooting at Crosspoint Community Church, which really offers a kind of blueprint for success.
That's right.
That attack was stopped, successfully thwarted by a trained armed church security team before the attacker could even get through the doors.
And that contrast is absolutely essential. The violence we're seeing, it's motivated by, deep ideological hatred, often executed by radicalized lone offenders.
Yeah.
And this has led to a major operational shift. We're seeing 54% of Protestant churches nationwide have now adopted trained armed defense.
Wow, 54%.
Yeah, it acknowledges that the defense of the flock, well, it often falls to the members themselves.
Okay, let's unpack this new reality then. Starting with the severe threat assessment itself. What specifically defines this threat level? What does red mean here?
So severe, or red, it signifies confirmation of active targeting or, plotting. And this comes from credible intelligence sources.
Okay.
It's based on insights from people like a CIA targeter, Sarah Adams, and agents from the Joint Terrorism Task Force, the JTTF.
Right.
And they confirm that these transnational extremist groups, particularly ISIS, they're actively trying to inspire violence against Christian places of worship right here in the U.S.
And when you look at the incidents from late 2024, the level of premeditation is just, it's terrifying.
It really is.
Take that attempted Texas church attack back in November 2024. Police found a man in a van loaded with guns, ammunition, and explosives. Authorities confirmed 3 of those 8 devices were actual destructive devices. That tells you the goal wasn't just a shooting, right? It was mass casualty bombing.
Precisely. And that lone wolf dynamic, it remains a critical danger. We saw that confirmed with the New Year's Eve 2024 ISIS-inspired attack down in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
A 42-year-old Army veteran drove a truck into a crowd, killed 15 people, injured 30 more. It was calculated violent jihad.
And it's so sobering that even the smallest places aren't immune. We saw that vulnerability exposed at the Feather River Adventist school shooting in December 2024.
Yeah, that was tragic.
This was a tiny Christian school, maybe 30 students total. 2 children were injured before the gunman took his own life. It just confirms that resources or size, they don't really matter. If you're a place of faith, you're exposed.
So if that's the threat environment, this pervasive threat, let's look at those operational responses in Michigan. They really define the difference that preparedness makes.
Okay, yeah. The story of Crosspoint Community Church in June 2025, that's a critical model. It really is. A 31-year-old gunman arrived, and he was neutralized outside the main doors.
Outside.
By the church security team. He never even got inside to engage the congregation.
And when investigators processed that scene, they found out why stopping him there was so essential.
What'd they find?
The gunman was carrying an AR-15 style rifle, an automatic handgun, and over a dozen fully loaded magazines. Hundreds of rounds.
My goodness.
Local police were very clear. That rapid armed response no doubt saved lives.
No doubt. Now contrast that success with the tragedy just 3 months later, September 2025, at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc, Michigan.
Yeah.
The perpetrator, Thomas Jacob Sanford, a 40-year-old Marine veteran, he rammed his truck into the building, opened fire, and then set the building ablaze. 4 people died.
The level of hatred and the premeditation there was extreme. The White House press secretary later confirmed the FBI believed the attacker hated people of the Mormon faith.
And the ATF confirmed finding 4 improvised explosive devices, IEDs, in Sanford's vehicle.
Right. Made from consumer-grade fireworks and smoke canisters.
So when you look at the evidence from those two scenes, IEDs in one case versus the AR-15 in the other, does that signal like a shift in attacker capability? Or is it just more premeditation in these ideological attacks?
I think it signals increased premeditation. The type of weaponry, including IEDs, it just shows dedicated planning targeting that specific religious group.
Okay.
And what's interesting here, connecting this to the broader context, is a critique raised in the source material we looked at. The Federalist points out that historically, anti-Mormon bigotry, citing things like the 1838 Hans Mill massacre, has sometimes seemed to lack the serious attention given to other forms of hatred.
So this source is raising the question of whether there's maybe a perceived double standard for bigotry, where some attacks against certain religious targets get less serious national attention, maybe less investigation, just based on the specific faith.
That's the point they raise, yeah.
Okay.
And that kind of sentiment naturally leads us toward the reality of self-reliance.
Absolutely, because when communities perceive a response gap, whether real or perceived, they step up.
Right, exactly. And Lifeway research confirms this shift. 81% of U.S. Protestant churches now have security measures in place.
81%.
Yeah. And as we mentioned earlier, 54% now rely on armed church members as a security measure. That's a significant jump, 9 points just since 2019.
That is a big jump.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that the same research notes a slight decrease in intentional planning for active shooter situations. It's down from 62% to 57%.
Yeah.
If preparedness is increasing, why the drop in dedicated planning documents? What's going on there?
Well, it suggests maybe a pragmatic shift. More focus on immediate citizen-led protection rather than getting bogged down in theoretical paperwork.
Okay.
The emphasis seems to have moved from planning for if it happens to ensuring immediate deterrence and rapid response when it happens.
That makes sense.
Security expert Ken Alexandro, he teaches this 3-step method: deter, detect, deny.
Deter, detect, deny. Okay. The concept of psychological defeat, using deterrence like a parking lot ministry, it sounds almost philosophical. How do real-world security teams apply that without, becoming intimidating or unwelcoming?
Right, it's a balance. It's really about presence. Deterrence is about achieving that psychological defeat of the attacker before they even try.
How?
By creating a highly visible, capable presence. People who look trained, who look ready, who look like they could offer too much of a fight.
Okay.
That presence alone can cause a bad actor who's typically looking for a soft, vulnerable target to just abort their plan, move on.
And detection.
Detection relies heavily on human surveillance.
Yeah.
And intuition, frankly.
Yeah.
If you see an anomaly, something that just feels off, feels wrong,
Yeah.
you need to report it immediately
To who?
to someone on the team who is trained and comfortable investigating it.
Yeah.
Don't just dismiss that gut feeling.
Got it. This focus on self-reliance becomes especially critical when the government response is perceived as, inadequate. Look at that Canadian example after the burning of over 30 churches back in 2021.
Yeah, that was alarming. Despite the obvious severity, public safety deferred investigation to the RCMP.
Okay.
And more critically, the Integrated Threat Assessment Center, ITAC, as part of their intelligence service, they determined that those 30 church burnings didn't pose a threat significant enough to even be included in their public report on ideologically motivated violent extremism.
Wow. That seems unbelievable.
Well, and a Canadian MP put the concern over that slow response on the record,
Okay.
noting that if fire had spread from one of those churches to nearby senior housing, this could easily become a highest potential mass casualty terrorist event.
So when the state is perceived to fail in prioritizing protection, the conservative viewpoint really holds that self-reliance becomes, non-negotiable.
That reinforces the point perfectly. Community resolution, community action, that's the primary shield.
Okay, so if action is the requirement of faith here, let's look at the practical, actionable steps communities can take. Because preparation, it's an act of faith, right? Not fear. It's about being good stewards of the people entrusted to your care.
Absolutely. And we can use the core functions from the CISA model, that's the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, as foundational benchmarks. Identify, protect, detect, respond, recover.
Okay, CISA. Identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. Where do you start?
To start, churches really must conduct professional risk assessments. Ideally, bring in local law enforcement, fire departments, get their eyes on it.
What are they looking for?
Facility vulnerabilities, surrounding threats, and crucially, protocols for childcare areas. That's often overlooked but vital.
Right. And physically, we need to harden these sites. This is where the budget needs to go, right?
Exactly. Things like enhancing exterior lighting, criminals hate light, installing good video surveillance, ensuring doors lock properly from the inside and are never propped open.
Never propped open. Seems simple, but critical.
It is. Even landscaping matters. Keep bushes below 2 feet, trim tree branches up to 6 feet, eliminate those potential hiding places for surveillance, or worse, ambush.
Okay, practical stuff. Now, what's fascinating, you mentioned the source material connects this to a biblical mandate.
Yeah, it does. It points out how these modern security measures actually align with an ancient biblical mandate for preparedness.
Like what?
Well, it cites Luke 22.36, which suggests readiness, saying, if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one.
Yeah.
And Nehemiah 4.9, which details the need for action, posting a guard day and night to meet the threat. It's a reminder that faith requires action and vigilance, not passivity.
Faith requires action, and when all those proactive measures fail, that final response protocol has to be drilled repeatedly.
Yeah. Yes. The crucial protocol is still the FBI's active shooter strategy. Run, hide, fight.
Run, hide, fight.
Using that fight option only as a last resort to disrupt or incapacitate the shooter. You have to understand, law enforcement's first priority when they arrive is locating and stopping the threat.
Not treating the injured right away.
Not immediately, no. That means the security team's trained response during those critical first few minutes. Well, that's often the only thing protecting the congregation's lives.
So, wrapping this up, we've established pretty clearly that the threat landscape, it demands extreme vigilance and proactive measures. There's just no way around it.
That's right.
And the successes, like we saw at Cross Point in Michigan, they prove that trained, prepared communities can absolutely save lives when they're facing this kind of targeted hatred and violence.
And while that community resolve is the ultimate protection, remember, there are government resources available. CISA offers protective security advisors. These are government experts who provide free vulnerability assessment.
Okay, free assessments. Good to know.
And the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, offers grants for physical security enhancements. So utilize those tools, but make sure the plan is robust and the people executing it are truly prepared.
Okay. So we've established that determining motive, like the FBI did in that Michigan Mormon church attack, is a primary goal of federal investigations because it tells us the source of the hatred driving these things. Given that reality that attackers often harbor this deep hatred and plan well in advance, here's the final thought for you, the listener. What specific actionable steps can your community take to identify and maybe even intervene with concerning behaviors long before an attack ever reaches that critical deny stage?